Thank you, guys. Hopefully we're feeling good today, hitting up all the sessions. Thank you. I really want to thank you for your time and investment for joining me to kind of talk about what CloudBees CI is. And I'll just get out in front of it by saying CloudBees CI is built on Jenkins, the long-term support release of Jenkins. So once we actually hop into the application today, you'll see a very familiar look and feel. Now, I do also want to kind of shine a light on AWS Secrets Manager, right? So secrets, we all have them. Applications, databases, right? So typically in the past, and even if you're still doing this, you're building out your applications, you're embedding secrets, whether that's a credential, a privileged credential, an API key, an SSL certification. So you need to be able to pass these at runtime, and you need to be able to centrally manage these secrets. And that's exactly what AWS Secrets Manager does with you. So what we're going to see in the demo is an integration between CI, hosted on EKS, and we'll actually be programmatically retrieving these credentials from Secrets Manager at runtime, okay? I think it's also important, since configuration as code is a very core concept to this discussion today, to kind of have a shared definition of what that is, right? I'm having a little bit of difficulty. Here we go. So by our definition, configuration as code is a method of managing changes to your software that advocates for your application's configuration settings to be stored as code and maintained in version control. Now, if you have qualms with that, we can duke it out after this, but we'll kind of take that and we'll run with it, okay? CloudBees CI gives you visibility into all of your Jenkins environments. So as you have the need to scale out, you need to be able to scale out in a governed way. You need to be able to onboard new teams and their instances quickly, with reliability, and with governance built into that. So configuration as code helps you do that with speed, and like I said, with consistency. So you're applying a configuration as code bundle to a controller with plugins, with the right permissions, with the right pipelines already available on that controller on day 0. And we'll actually see that momentarily once we hop into the solution. So that allows you to then command everything from a solution like GitHub or Bitbucket, right? So now every single minor or major change that you're making to CloudBees CI, whether that's a new plugin, whether that is an agent configuration, that's happening through a GitOps type of philosophy. And that will allow you to scale faster than you ever have before, with security built into that process. Now, giving you guys a little bit of insight into what a configuration as code bundle consists of. First and foremost, what we have is kind of an index file, right, where you're referencing everything else that I want to include within this active bundle, right? This is everything I'm going to configure as code. We're going to hop into GitHub, and we're going to take a look at that file. So after that, we have the CasC file. So that's kind of built on the open source philosophy. A Jenkins.yaml file is really the name of it. So that contains your entire Jenkins configuration, okay? Plugins, you can have a kind of an advanced file structure for all of the plugins that you're managing for a single controller. And then items. So that's really unique, and that's something that CloudBees has released relatively recently. That allows you to define all of the items on your controller as code. Folders, GitHub organizations, pipelines, multi-branch projects. All of that can now be wrapped into a YAML file and then included into kind of a base configuration bundle. So that if you want to onboard a new team, you apply this base config bundle, and even if they wanted to use their own, they can inherit some of these configurations. So then you're enforcing best practices from the get-go. Secrets Manager. So what we're going to do today, like I said, we're going to actually pull in some secrets. We're going to spin up a brand new continuous integration environment. So we're going to spin up a Jenkins controller. And like I said, all of this is powered by Amazon EKS. So the controllers themselves are spun up in stateful sets. So we have everything we need to run the application. The persistent volume claims are decoupled, right? So we have that type of architecture that, again, will seamlessly allow you to scale out and will ultimately minimize your overhead from a management standpoint. Secrets Manager and AWS IAM are, along with EKS, the 3 core services that we are implementing with this demo today. So without further ado, I'm going to work my magic on this thing. And there we are. OK, so we'll hop back into AWS. And you know what? I guess we'll stay here. So this is my EKS cluster. I have about 20 pods here. And you can actually see that I have a CSI driver deployed here. It's deployed as a daemon set, right? So this is running on 2 nodes, 2 of my managed node groups. Now, one thing I do want to show you all, we'll hop into VS Code here very quickly. And I want to just kind of emphasize how we have deployed CloudBees CI, right? So I'm pulling in all of my Helm repos needed for this AWS Secrets Manager integration and everything else, right? I need that secret store CSI driver. And I'm also going to be deploying one specific for AWS, right? So they have, much like other clouds, they have their own sort of installer for the CSI secret store. So I'm applying that. And then comes the installation of CloudBees CI, right? So I'm running a Helm command and applying the values from this file we see here. That is what we then see running in EKS. Now, my controller, the one that we're going to create, and the one that you actually see right here, I told you it would be very familiar, is using a service account by the name of Jenkins. Okay? And what's needed from AWS to actually pull in these secrets, you need an IAM policy, you need a role, and both of those things need to be associated with the Kubernetes service account for my instance, right? So taking a look at that, here it is. My IAM role last used about a week ago. That will change momentarily once we actually dynamically provision my new instance. I've created an inline policy for this to actually incorporate the permissions for KMS and Secrets Manager needed to decrypt that secret, right? So that's one of the things you'll see here is this KMS permission to decrypt the secret. And that, again, is encrypted utilizing if we just take a look at one of my secrets, we'll pull up a simple password here. And you see it's leveraging this encryption key. So KMS, also kind of the 4th service that we're using, that is all applied utilizing an IAM policy. Okay. What's also extremely important to notice is this trust relationship. So what's needed to create resources within EKS is an OIDC provider, right? So I am referencing that here within my trusted relationship. And I'm saying, you know what? Any service account by the name of Jenkins, they can pull secrets from Secrets Manager. Now, you might have seen that within my IAM policy, I'm pulling everything, right? I can specifically name out resources by the name of their ARN, but I have the permissions to pull all secrets, okay? And now we'll actually hop in to CloudBees CI. I already have a controller running right now. We are going to hop on over to GitHub. I'm going to utilize a GitHub app to dynamically provision a new instance, right? So I'm going to install this into an organization that I just created. And here it is, CloudBees at reInvent 22. Yep, I want to install it. And uh-oh. The MFA, guys, bear with me here. And this is secrets management at its finest. So once I go through this here, we have a controller that has a job that will dynamically provision this instance. So I have just installed it successfully. That will pull in some repositories that I might need for this new instance. A configuration is code bundle, right? And if we go back to CI, I'll navigate into, and we see that this multi-branch project is actually running right now. Okay, so there was an event trigger listening for that GitHub app installation, and now it's going to provision a new instance with that configuration is code bundle that we see here. So that's that bundle, that index file that we need. So what do we have? So a unique ID utilized by what we call Operations Center. So that is where you can store these bundles, distribute them to all of your controllers, whoever needs them. And we're pulling in plugins. We're defining our instance configuration in that Jenkins.yaml file. And that's exactly where our secrets are being variabilized. So we take a look in there. And as this controller is provisioning, we're taking a look at some of the best practices that are being applied to it on day 0. Before anyone logs in, we know that there's a pipeline template catalog, an entire catalog of declarative pipelines for a variety of different tech stacks already available on the instance. We have some hibernation capabilities. Again, that is specific to running it on Amazon EKS. You can hibernate your controllers when they're not utilizing, no jobs are running, no one's logged in, and save you on compute power. But the star of the show here, as you see, we have these secrets that are being parameterized out on line 67. We're pulling in a private key as well. And again, these are all stored as we see in Secrets Manager using that same key. Let's take a look at the provisioning job here. And it's just about finished. So once that's up and running, we can actually verify that, hey, we have a new stateful set. And we'll be able to navigate back to Operations Center, and we will see that new controller. Again, I already have one running, right? I did a little dry run, and this is what we're going to be presented with once this new instance loads. So again, we have an item already available. We know that this instance is being configured as code. And if I take a look back into my IDE, we can verify that those secrets have been properly mounted by running this kubectl exec command. And you see we've mounted those secrets to that CasC volume, right? And I'll execute that command, and then we see the... Oh, what did I forget? I forgot my namespace. So, got to add that. And there they are. Everything pulled in from Secrets Manager. Now, this controller is already running, right? So that you're like, OK, now let's try to see if that new controller is available for us. And then we can verify if those secrets have actually been passed. So there it is. Doesn't look as though it's ready as of yet. But we can try and actually run that same command for that controller. And then we can verify if those secrets have actually been mounted from Secrets Manager. There we are. Boom. So that's my new instance. I just created a new CI environment for, let's say, Team Z, whatever we want to call them. And they can now log in. They have the right secrets. So we've just passed those automatically at runtime, very securely with the right trust relationship. And they have a configuration as code bundle available so that they can start working today. We go back to Operations Center, and this is not exactly running as of yet, but we have visibility into that, right? So this is kind of a single source of truth here. And now I can say that the best credential in CI or CD is a no credential, okay? So that's exactly the role and the power that you can combine with AWS Secrets Manager, CloudBees CI, and configuration as code. We have monthly workshops that you can actually use the QR code and register for that focus on configuration as code, some of the capabilities. You'll actually provision new instances and get much more of a deep dive on that concept. We also did a webinar back in October that focused on just configuration as code in general, what it is, again, kind of the definition of it, the history of configuration as code. And I'll just kind of leave you with this, right? So this is a little bit more about what CloudBees does. Very, very open ecosystem. Continuous integration is our bread and butter. But as you see, we have expanded out into much more of a delivery platform with feature flagging and progressive delivery. So we are at booth 3452 if you guys want to come by and chat about AWS Secrets Manager, CloudBees configuration as code. But I really want to thank everyone for this session today and your time. So if you have any questions, you can come up to me. If I didn't cover anything, we can just chat about it. But I appreciate it, everyone. Thank you.